Presentation Summary of the Origin of the Universe and How the Sun Works plus Conclusive Proof 2022 to 2023. The riddle of the origin of the universe and how the sun works has intrigued scientists around the world throughout generations of history. All the answers are all right here, in our solar system. In our solar system there are phenomena in which each phenomenon has received its own scientific explanation while ignoring the connection between all the phenomena in finding one phenomenon that causes all the other. First, we will present the phenomena and then we will show you how only one phenomenon causes all those phenomena. At the end, we will show you conclusive proof of the truth of the presentation. A. Presentation of the phenomena. The phenomena are 1. An elliptical rotation of the planets around the Sun instead of a circular rotation as expected from a physical system constructed of gravity and centrifugal force only. 2. The orbit of planets in a disk orbit round the Sun and not rotation of all planets in all directions as expected from a physical system built by gravity and centrifugal force only. 3. The tilt inclination of all the planets in cycles without having a visible physical force which performs the inclination of the planets and stabilizing the tilt cycles. 4. The Sun rotates around the axis at a speed of 25 days for one rotation in the equator of the Sun without having a visible source which rotates the Sun. 5. Here it is really strange. The equator of the Sun rotates faster than the poles while there must be a huge constant external force in order to rotate the equator faster than the poles. 6. The presence of enormous mass of the Sun without a source seems to be the invention of mass. 7. The source heat of the Sun, a wonder that has a wonderful scientific excuse while completely ignoring all the rest of the phenomena. 8. The poles of the Sun, the North Pole and the South Pole with opposite electrical energies, without an electric source generator. 9. Magnetism of the Sun, increased magnetism at the equator of the Sun without source of the magnetic formation. 10. The corona of the Sun is 300 times warmer than the surface of the Sun, which is really unlikely and is not expected from a mass whose surface 5,000 degrees Celsius will heat the corona to a temperature of 1.5 million degrees Celsius without external dynamic active force which will generate the heat. Most of these phenomena are contrary to the laws of physics. All these phenomena show that there is here another force, an invisible phenomenon whose effect projecting in causes all these phenomena. There is an answer for this all. An invisible phenomenon causes all the phenomena. B. Presentation. Now we will show you presentation how only one phenomenon can cause all the phenomena in our solar system and create our universe. Listen to this. The story of our solar system begins in another universe. In another universe a star collapsed, star similar to the V404 Cygni star in our universe which collapsed. As a result of the collapse, a space fission was created which opens a universe space. A new universe was created, an infinite empty space. This is how our universe was created. From the intensity of the collapse, a huge time distortion between the universes created. What happens in the other universe during 48 hours of star collapse, in our universe millions of years pass. Because of the time distortion between the universes, the mass of the star in collapse passes through the black hole to our universe in the form of stardust and pass for millions of years. Most of the stars whose mass is between the size of 8 times the size of the Sun and to 20 times the size of the Sun, collapsed into our universe and appeared as stardust in our universe. One of those stars that collapsed, its stardust created the Sun in our solar system. The mass of the star in collapse rotates into the black hole. The mass of stardust is spinning in rotation into our universe, creates two coils made of stardust, in two opposite directions. The gravitational force of the star in collapse passes through a narrow opening of the black hole in two opposite directions and strikes the two spinning stardust metal coil and creates an electric current in the coil. This is how an electricity generator works, a magnet which moves inside a metal coil, generating electricity. This creates an electrical generator. When gravity of the star in collapses, passes through a narrow opening of the black hole in two opposite directions, and strikes the two coils which stardust created, this created an electric voltage generator. Gravity replaces the magnet and spinning metal stardust replace the coil in an electrical voltage generator. As the mass of stardust unites, the stardust continues to flow out of the black hole in two opposite directions. Stardust flows in two opposite directions but because of the rotation of the Sun around the axis, one coil is placed, and the other coil is disturbed and becomes a metal core which passes through the middle of the coil. This how an electromagnet creates inside the Sun. Gas and fuel burn inside bubbles that form. Gases are emitted back through the black hole into the universe where the star is in collapse. The electricity in the coil hits and a new sun born. Electromagnetism generated through along the Sun rotation has a major role in the solar system. The electromagnet pulls mass rich in metal and causes the Sun to rotate around the axis. This is what caused the equator of the Sun to rotate faster than the poles. Electromagnet inside the Sun is the one that creates the tremendous pull force of black hole in another universe. The electromagnet coil is the motor that generates the heat of the Sun. The electromagnet inside the Sun causes electromagnetic radiation which causes the corona of the Sun to be 300 times warmer than the surface of the Sun. The electromagnet and the gravity of the star in a collapse in the other universe stabilize the motion of the planets in a disk orbit. The gravitational pull force of the star in the collapse in another universe pull the poles of the Earth and causes the planets to tilt, stabilizing the tilt, causing the seasons on Earth. Only an external force can stabilize tilt of all planets so accurately in time for so many years in an exact way. The electromagnet in the Sun caused the magnetic polarity of the Sun, the North Pole and the South Pole. Inside bubbles in the Sun, nuclear fusion and nuclear fission take place. Coils become magnetic. Bubbles with these magnets when they float, they create increased magnetism on the equator of the Sun. Gases that are burned in the Sun are emitted back through the black hole into the universe where the star is in collapse. The eruptions on the surface of the Sun are in fact floating bubbles in which nuclear fusion and nuclear fission have taken place. The elliptical rotation of the planets around the Sun. From looking at the scale of the Earth's distances from the Sun, we see that the Earth's distance from the Sun changes cyclically. In January, the shortest distance of 148 million kilometers from the Sun. The Earth's distance from the Sun increased for 6 months until July, up to a maximum distance of 154.4 million kilometers. From the end of July, the Earth's distance from the Sun decreases for 6 months, until January to a distance of 148 million kilometers. In this way, the distances change in a regular cycle each year. These results really do not make sense. If the Sun is just a mass only, then the rotation of the Earth around the Sun should have been only circular and not elliptical. According to the Alien Science Association of Astronomy, there is an exit of a black hole in the Sun. According to our claim, there is the gravitational force of the star in a collapse in another universe which operates in two opposite directions. So, how is it possible that the Earth's distance in July is even bigger than the distance when the gravity of the star in collapse does not work? In the opposite side, January, there is maximum gravity and the Earth's distance from the Sun is the smallest. It is not possible that in January a maximum gravity force will be applied on the Earth while in the opposite side, July, a maximum force will not be applied on the Earth. So, what causes the special elliptical shape called Kepler's first law? There is another force which is not taken into account. Here is the explanation. In the center of the coil in the Sun, passes star-dust metal core which becomes an electromagnet core. The electromagnet creates a magnet with magnetic force. This force creates the huge electromagnetic force of the black hole in another universe. This electromagnetic force affects all the planets. The magnetic force of the electromagnet works in two directions, but the positive magnetic pole is on the exits of the black hole. This means that the two sides of the black hole exits has a magnetic plus polarity. This means that while the gravitational force of the star in collapse is acting on the planets, in two opposite directions, there is a magnetic force which acts on the magnetic poles of the planets. When there is summer at the North Pole of the Earth, the magnetic side plus of the Earth is tilted towards the exit of the black hole that has a magnetic plus and pushes the Earth away from the Sun. Two magnets with same poles plus magnets resist each other. And when there is winter in the North Pole of the Earth, the magnetic side minus of the South Earth is tilted towards the exit of the black hole that has a magnetic plus force and that pulls the Earth to the Sun. Two magnets with plus and minus poles attract each other. We're talking about Kepler's first law, the elliptical motion of all planets around the Sun. This is why at the end of January, when the gravity of the star in collapse acts and pulls the northern part of the Earth's moving away from the Sun. This is why at the end of July, when the gravity of the star in collapse acts and pulls the southern part of the Earth's moving towards the Sun. In this way, the electromagnet and the gravity force of the star in collapse, generate an elliptical rotation of the Earth around the Sun. This explanation gives a perfect answer to Kepler's first law for the orbit of the planets around the Sun. In fact, the scheme of the Earth's distance from the Sun proves the invention of magnetic force that it once pulls and once pushes. The phenomenon of fiery looping rain on the Sun, which is suspected to be the exit of the black hole, is explained by scientists as a magnetic eruption. The explanation is true, but the origin of magnetism and how it is formed is different from the opinion of scientists. See, there is combustion of gases and not just fusion. See energy renewal, which can only come from an external source. Also see that the beginning of fiery looping rain on the Sun starts from above, which is not really a ground eruption. So also see that there is one side of the black hole exits which is more dominant than the other, which proves that the structure of the black hole emits mass in a way that encourages an electromagnet to exist. So although it is possible that the first star in collapse in another universe could lead to existing universe in bubbles of universes, the massive time distortion between universes could have been created only in a collapsing star. So our universe was created by collapse of a star in another universe and is in a chain of universes connected by massive time distortions between them. In conclusion, many explanations for different phenomena within one solar system cannot be used as a substitute for one simple explanation which explains how one phenomenon causes all the phenomena within one solar system. So that's why the Sun is an inter-universe phenomenon. Now we will show you conclusive proof of the truth of the presentation. Conclusive proof. Hello friends. This video presented to you is a special edition. It's just because the presentations made by the Alien Science Association of Astronomy Org.il regarding the origin of the universe and in finding out how the Sun works, the conclusive proof has been found. In this chapter we will show you the proof that there is a star in collapse, in another universe, distorted in time, which provides the solar energy and which affects the solar system. So here's the proof. Listen to this. Here is the Sun and here is the Earth. The proof is based on the inclination of the Earth. This is the inclination of the Earth, which stands at 23.5 degrees. This means that the full inclination of the Earth at the North Pole is 23.5 degrees and the full inclination of the Earth at the South Pole is 23.5 degrees. It is about the journey of the inclination of the Earth. The inclination of the Earth is explained by scientists in a hit that the Earth was hit about 4 billion years ago, and since then this inclination has existed. Here is the graph that represents the inclination of the Earth, including the formulas for calculating the inclination for each day of the year. The point is this. If the claim that the Earth has received a hit and since its motion has become such is correct, then the rate of change of inclination must be linear. Just like in this graph. This means that each month the rate of change in degrees must be the same. But no, look. This graph expresses a nonlinear motion of the Earth's inclination. It is not possible for the rate of change of inclination to change dynamically. That is, once accelerated and once decelerated, in a nonlinear way. But in practice the inclination of the Earth operates exactly according to this graph, dynamically. More than that. Look, here is the Earth's inclination table. Look at days 171 to 174, the tilt of the Earth stops completely. Look at days 353 to 357, the inclination of the Earth stops completely, and only because of the deviation of the calculation formula there is a change of 0.02 of a degree. The point is this. A natural inclination cannot be stopped completely without an external force. Period. And here it happens twice a year. The Earth itself has no source of energy of its own which will make the inclination to dynamic. We have two options. 1. Continue to think that the inclination of the Earth was created by a hit, that the Earth got hit, and then look for the source of the additional force which makes the inclination of the Earth dynamic. 2. Abandon the belief that the Earth got hit and look for another force that creates the inclination of the Earth. According to the old science of astrophysics, the total forces in the solar system are known and appear, and there is no force which can cause a dynamic acceleration or deceleration of the inclination of the Earth, as shown in the graph. In option 2, on the other hand, in abandoning the belief that the Earth has been hit and in the search for a force that creates the Earth's inclination, the answer is already right here. Alien Science Association of Astronomy Org.il has already done a research on the subject. According to the study, there is a gravitational force of a star in collapse in another universe, which acts in two opposite directions and causes the inclination of the Earth, just as shown in this picture. And in this picture too. And this. The reason that causes the claim to be correct and proven is that when the Earth is at the poles of the exit of the black hole, the gravity of the star in collapse in another universe does not act on the Earth. That is why we see a complete full stop of the Earth's inclination for about 5 days, twice a year. That is why we see an acceleration in the inclination when the whole half-Earth is exposed to the gravity of the star in collapse. And what's even more special is that because it's a black hole exit, the Earth's exposure angle to the gravity of the star in collapse does not instantly maximize, just as the graph indicates. It takes several days for Earth to reach an area where the gravity of the star in collapse to be in full active on the Earth. But the most important thing is that the inclination of the Earth, which is considered natural by scientists, cannot be stopped at all and certainly not for 5 days and twice a year as shown in the table. The claims that the gravity of the star in collapse is not active on Earth when the Earth is at the poles of the black hole exit, and also that the gravity of the star in collapse does not become maximal immediately, because of the Earth's exposure angle to the gravity of the star in collapse, are accurate and absolute. The graph inclination of the Earth to the presentation. By adding measurements results of Gray spacecraft that prove the existence of seasonal gravitational force changes on Earth, this proof actually becomes conclusive proof. Based on the presentation presented by the Alien Science Association of Astronomy Org.il, the proof attached to this video and other presentations as well as the measurements of Gray spacecraft, and as well as appears in the table, is in fact proof of the existence of the star in collapse in another universe, which provides the solar energy. And this is a real revolution in the world of astrophysics.